What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Jordan and today we're working on the Porsche 981 and unfortunately the headliner is falling. It's coming down, hitting my hair, and we can't have that. So I haven't wanted to do this job for a long time, but let's get into it. So guys, this is a really common problem with the Porsche cars, 981, 987, 991, and basically what this is caused by is humidity in the air messes with the water-soluble glue that's attached to the headliner, and over time it just literally just detaches. So basically for this project, there are a lot of steps, but from what I understand, it's totally doable by yourself. But basically we're gonna take the headliner out of the car, then we're gonna clean up and prep the headliner for new fabric, put new fabric on the headliner, and then put it back in the car. A lot of steps for a job that is really, really annoying. And if you go to a shop, it might cost you $500 to $1,500 to get it replaced. So I'm gonna do it myself because I don't wanna pay that. So let's go ahead and see what tools we're gonna use to take it out of the car. And for this first step of the project, we only have a couple tools. Most importantly, you wanna get some plastic panel, plastic pry bars. You can get these from AutoZone, like $20. Basically, it's just like a plastic pry bars that'll let you pull the plastic panels out of their place without damaging them. Next, you're gonna need some Torx bits with a screwdriver. And last, a totally optional tool, I brought a headlamp, which is from Delphi. I'm gonna put a link to this down in the description if you wanna get one, but it's hard to see up there inside the car, so that's gonna help me brighten everything up and make the job as easy as possible. You guys like my nifty headlamp? All right, so let's check out the car. So in total, there's about 9 things holding the headliner on the top of the car. We have a couple anchor points in the front, a couple in the back, as well as some Tetris with the interior panels. So let's go over that real quick. So first we have the sun visors, and hopefully my camera will expose right, but the sun visors have different screws in there that hold everything together up in the front side, as well as the dome light right there. The dome light has 2 screws in it we need to undo. Then we also have the A-pillar plastics, which is right here. We need to remove that because that sandwiches it on the roof. Then we also have the C-pillar, which is this guy right here. And that one right there also sandwiches it against the roof. And then also on the back here, we have 2 ball and socket joint type things that clip into place that hold it up. Then there's also a couple pieces of Velcro. So there's a lot holding up the headliner, and yeah, it's just a lot of steps. But once we get it out, what we're gonna do is we're gonna move the seats down and forward, and that's gonna give us enough space, hopefully, to kind of slide it out this way. You don't wanna slide out the back from what I understand. It's best to go through the door. So let's start with the sun visors and the stuff in the front. So one of the final steps is pulling out the ball and socket joint that holds the back of the headliner up. And so we're looking at the back, towards the back of the car, And I'm gonna see if I can get this on camera. Let's see. Okay, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this, but they're literally right here in the back corner, and you have to be really careful to pull, and you have to separate the two, and then it should just be free falling from there. Well guys, that job is thoroughly stressful, but it's out. You can do it by yourself. But just like I read about online, it's really easy to break these off. So we'll address that later, but these are the basically what I call the ball and socket clips. And these things, like when they pulled out, they were still stuck in the ceiling. They were very hard to pull out of the ceiling. So I think that a lot of people are gonna break these. I don't think they're really the best design for just popping out of the car. And just to go over all the things that we took out of the car: 2 sun visors, 2 sun visor clips, the garage door dome light thing. I went ahead and took out these A-pillar covers just so that when we put it back in, it's easy and we're not like dodging these different panels. Those ones are easier to take out than the C-pillars in the back. But next step is going to be removing the fabric, the existing fabric, the stock fabric right here. We're going to take this off and then clean it up underneath there and get it ready for some new fabric. So let's get ready for that. And so now that the fabric has been removed from the headliner, you can see all of that brown uckiness. That is actually just foam from the back of the headliner. So this foam detaches from the actual fabric itself, which causes it to fall. And the next step is going to be rubbing off all of that extra foam residue from the headliner. That way the new fabric has a good surface to adhere to. And I read online that a simple wire brush or a regular brush is all that's needed to scrape this stuff off. So I'm going to give that a try. These are both from AutoZone. I think this was $9 and $3. Yep, and so it really was just that easy. So I just used the wire brush, scraped it a bunch of times, and all the foam dust is coming off, and we're gonna have to do that for the whole thing. So it might take a minute, but once we do that and this is all really nice and smooth and ready to accept new glue, we're gonna be ready for the fabric. All right, so after about an hour of scrubbing and vacuuming and cleaning this up, it looks like this. It still has a little bit of that yellow tint to it, but if you get close to it, the surface is nice and secure. There's no rolling off of any foam or anything, so I think this is gonna be a good surface to glue on. But before we move on to any fabric adhesion, we do have a little bit of repair to do. These guys, the ones that popped off, we're gonna put these back on, and I'm gonna show you guys what I plan to do to fix that. So I saw online that somebody tried to put these on just using, some epoxy or something, and it didn't really seem to work. So they tried a lot of different things, and they suggested that you should mechanically attach this to the headliner as well as with some epoxy. So I just have some leftover screws from a project inside that I'm going to use, and basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill through the headliner, screw this in through the front side, And because the fabric is going to be foam backed and it's a little bit squishy, once you glue it on, you're not even going to be able to notice these little flathead screws. So this is just going to be one little layer extra of security. So it'll be put a screw through and then glue it in from the other side. And I think the combination of those two should give us at least a somewhat secure, somewhat permanent solution. So let's get to that. And after doing that little bit of securing, I went ahead and put a bunch more epoxy around this here. The reason why is because you want the epoxy under it to grab the material and then over it to kind of cement it down on there. That's how Porsche did it originally, so I tried to copy that. And this stuff is super, super strong, and I am pretty sure that's not gonna go anywhere. I'm gonna do that to the other side, and then we'll keep going. All right, so now that we've got these guys secured, they seem to be really, really sturdy, so I'm not worried about those. But now it's time to flip this thing over and get it ready for fabric. The fun part, I think. So here we are in the house. I have this prepped and ready for fabric, and then here is my ultra suede fabric that I used. I'm not using Alcantara because Alcantara is a very specific fabric that is also a leather, super expensive, but I got this on Amazon for $40, I think. It's a 54 by 60 piece of ultra suede. And then to put the fabric on, we have a couple tools, one of which is a 3M headliner adhesive, some scissors, a razor blade, and let's get to putting on the fabric. And now I'm gonna do my best to not mess this up. I'm not gonna act like I am a professional at doing headliners. This is the first time I've ever done this. But in every bit of research that I've done so far, people have said that you want to only do like half or a portion of it at a time. Lay down the glue, fold it over, pat it down, make it really nice. And then when you're done, lift this up and then do the opposite on the other side. So pull that back and then glue that side and then lay it down. I'm gonna do the back half of the headliner first. That way I can learn a little bit, give it a try, and hopefully if I make any mistakes, it'll be on the back side, and that way it won't be as visible as it would be if it was on the front. So stick with me here, but let's see how it goes. All right, so stage one of the gluing is done, and I have to say this is not the easiest job, but I think it went relatively well. I only just have one little crease right here, and basically if this happens, you're supposed to pull in line with the crease over here and then smooth it out as you press it in, and most of those came out when they happened in other places. But what I learned is that you need to use about twice as much glue as you think, really lay it on there, and then you have about 15 to 20 minutes of working time before it starts to set up. But aside from that, I am going to let this set for another 30 minutes or so to really get stuck. And then I'm going to fold this part back, and we're going to stick the front side, which I think is going to be a little bit more challenging. But then once we're done with that, we're going to flip it over, trim the excess off the sides, and then start tucking. But wish me luck in the next section. I hope it goes good. Okay, so after getting started on the front portion, I actually realized that it's probably a better idea to finish off the simple part in the middle before doing the complicated part down at the front. And this time, instead of just constantly spreading it with my hands, I decided to be a little smarter with the weight distribution. So I got some towels with weight on the curved edges over here and then over here, and I just took a pillow, extra pillow, laid it down here in the center, because basically once it comes here, you can't really see it because of the darkness of the fabric, but this is all like very complicated, all the shapes here. So I'm hoping that goes well, and I really wanted this portion right here to be stuck on really good before I start messing with this and yanking on it and all that stuff. So setting this up, and then we'll fold that back, this portion here, and really start to tackle this last bit. Alright, so the headliner is glued on the exposed side, and it turned out really nice, but I'm going to show you guys that in a little bit. But I did a few things off of camera and I want to show you. So obviously I flipped it over and I trimmed the outside edge all the way around. I left about 1.5 inches or 2 inches on the whole exterior outer edge, and I made a bunch of relief cuts. And so after some experimenting, I realized that the relief cuts really are better if you do a triangle rather than just doing a straight line. And you just got to play around with this. It's really not that complicated to figure out, but just trial and error. Fold it, cut it, and eventually you'll get into a rhythm. But these little tabs here are just going to be great for pulling, gluing, and securing it all the way around. Porsche actually only did tabs on this edge and that edge, and Porsche from stock cut this edge perfectly with the edge of the headliner. And actually I think that this will be a little bit of an improvement from stock, because originally you could see this cardboard color on the edge of the headliner when it was installed. And so because I'm going to be doing tabs and tucking it all the way around, I think it's actually going to have a better appearance than stock. So pretty excited about that, and I think it's going to turn out really good. But what are we going to do about the glue? Because we have the spray glue, we have the 3M headliner glue, which I've been using, and it works really well for big areas. But what about being precise and getting on these tabs here? Well, what you don't want to do is you don't want to spray the glue down and then risk getting glue on the black portion of your headliner. You have the potential of like getting a little bit on the back here and just ruining the appearance of what you just did. So I'm going to do it the slow way, but I think it's going to be a good way. I'm just literally going to spray the glue into a cup, use a brush, and I'm just going to brush it on. And I think the brush is also going to be good because it's going to allow me to jam a bunch of glue under here where maybe it's not sticking perfectly, and really get that good seal all the way around. So slow and steady wins the race, and worst case scenario, I have a bit of super glue just in case I need to do a little bit more of a secure gluing, but I think this is going to turn out really nice. So I'm going to put some music on and let's get to it. Alright, and this method is working pretty dang good, so I just want to show you what I think is the best method. So go ahead and use your paintbrush and put it here on the back side of the headliner first. Let that tack up as you are like painting the tabs, and then pull it over. Because this stuff gets really tacky quickly, so once it gets tacky, you really don't even have to push it down that much. You just kind of yank it, push, and it's going to stick. So it's going well, and I'm just going to keep going along the edge, and almost done. Alright, so it is all glued on all the way around, and I'm feeling really good about how that went. But we just have a few minor things to do before we can call this a finished product. So we have these holes here for the sun visor clip, and then the center dome light. So we have to really carefully cut those out and see if we can't make these a perfect little excision of fabric, and then we can go put it back in the car. So I'm gonna do that really quick, and then I'm gonna show you guys what it looks like once that's all done. And here it is, all mocked up and ready to go, looking so good. Just a few minor mistakes, but I mean, honestly, no one's ever gonna tell, and I did it myself, and that's really what matters. But I didn't place these in here. These are just laid down on here, but let's go into the garage and get this installed just the way that we took it out. And here we are in the garage, ready to put it back in, but I'm gonna go over the game plan with you really quick. So I put a towel in the dash this time just to protect it a little bit better than we did last time. But then we're gonna take it from the passenger side and back it in behind the C-pillar plastics, which are right here. You can see right here, we're just gonna tuck it in behind there and put those back in place to absorb some of the weight of the headliner. And then I'm going to reattach the ball and socket clips, which is right there, right next to the Velcro square. We're gonna put that in because I think that's gonna be hard to press in and also hard to get to. But then after that, we are going to attach it at the dome light and then the visors. And last, we're gonna do the A-pillar plastics. So basically just reverse of what we did earlier. And I'm hoping it's gonna be pretty easy. So let's get to it.
Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob! SpongeBob, careful! Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob! Careful, SpongeBob!
Alright guys, so before I show you the finished product, I just want to let you guys know this project took me about 16 hours worth of work. I know that sounds like a lot, but it's a couple hours to take it out of the car, a bunch of hours to put the fabric and glue, and then a couple more to put it back. In addition to that, I paid about $80 in materials, which is really not that bad, but this project is a ton of labor, but it's not too bad. If you follow the tutorial and you just follow the instructions I put here, you definitely can do it yourself. But if you don't want to do it yourself, I do have an interior shop here in Las Vegas that I want to suggest. Ian's Auto Interior, and the owner of that shop, Ryan. If you're watching this, I'm sorry I didn't bring my car in, but I wanted to make a tutorial about it. So if you're watching this video and you learned something, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And if you've seen a couple of my videos and you want to see a couple more, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. But guys, let's check out the finished product.